and welcome to Fat Squirrel Speaks. Today is Thursday, March 30th. I am Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Thanks for coming over. It's a sitting on the floor energy day, so you are welcome to sit in a chair, but I am going to be sitting on the floor. The dogs agree with me. They have found patches of sunlight. Oh my gosh. Indiana, there is still sun in the world. I was beginning to wonder. But it's here again, so that's lovely. Let's just, let's get into it. So before I forget, because I did last time, I'm going to put in pictures of my finished knitted bunny here. So that is the bunny by Claire Garland. What is she called? She's called the Rabbit Doll. Excuse me. Did you see that there's now a fox? I'm in so much trouble, y'all. And if you notice, there were some names written in the photograph and in the margins and around and about and around and about. I just want to say thank yous to those. Thank yous? I do want to say thank yous to those patrons of the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed trying to find your name. Like folks who have ladybug spinning wheels enjoy finding ladybugs on other people's spinning wheels. So thanks to those folks. It was a treat to write your names. Okay, while we're doing administrative, I have a shop update. April 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, fatsquirrelfibers.com. It's going to be a pre-order update. And I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to fib. I'm really excited about it. So usually if I pick a pre-order, it's because I like the fabric enough that I want to sew it a bunch. This is no exception. So first off, I have this beautiful poppy fabric, which I'm trying to get it not too much. There we go. Not too much in the sun. I don't want it to blare out. It's just these beautiful, soft, sort of spring-like neutrals, but feels like fresh and calm, and get these beautiful like kind of queens and lacy gals, and just a little bit of yellow poppy, and then we get the pods, which are my favorite part, right? And just a sweet little bird, just for funsies. Isn't it delicious? So these guys will be available. This is my Aran sweater. It's humongous. It is good. It's a good size if you want to put many small cats in it. If you want to put, also maybe some knitting, but it's a big gal. It's a big gal. Like, I could put both of my whole arms in there, and I have fat country lady arms. Like, so I'm gonna have that in Aran sweater, and then large wedge size. So those will all be available again. April 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern, daylight time. It's New York City time. I am going to have, there she is. I'm going to have these beautiful gals. So this is an interfaced linen cotton. And I'll have those in Aran sweater and sweater. These are limited. So the other guys are, they're not unlimited, but there will be much greater quantity of the other guys. These guys, this fabric is like all I have of it. So the other guys I specifically do so that I can order. But these guys are limited. That's what I'm trying to say. Everything is limited because I sew with my two little hands. I know, right? These dogs do not know how to sew. It's offensive. But anyway, they are real pretty. Okay, but then, so I love those. I love them both, but Mama has her favorites, and this is it. Shut up! Are Are you kidding me? I want to wrap everything in this fabric. So it's got like toile vibes. It's got printmaker vibes. It's got linen. I love black and linen vibes. Like, oh, it is a denim. And it is stinking gorgeous. And the print is so huge. I love a giant print so much. Just love it. I mean, look at that. So these are Aran. These are sweater. So you get less of the cool fabric. I'm not trying to just make you decide, but just saying. And then I am going to offer it in large wedge. I really hesitated. But I am going to charge a small premium because there will be a little bit more waste to try to get you at least a bunny on there. So, you know, you do you. But I know some people really do not want a bigger bag. And this fabric is so sweet and I like it so much. But there will be a slight premium charge just because of that. So, but basically you just want this one because you want as much of this fabric as possible. Right. Stinking I like those a little bit. So again, those bags will all be available at fatsquirrel.com, or excuse me, fatsquirrelfibers.com. Pre-orders will go up April 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. They will stay up for about a week, unless something happens and like all of you decide you want one, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, so they're limited by like the number that I can sew in the time allotted, but so I'm really excited about those. And then let's talk about sewing. So I also finished. So last time I showed you my little quilt for my dining room table. And so I made a small coordinating one to go over like one of our end tables. And the only reason I'm showing it to, well, I mean, I'm showing it to you because like, hi, that's what we do. But I just wanted to show you, like, this has actually been laundered and washed. And I wanted you to see like the amount of crinkle you get from just this minimal quilting. So this quilting is just a 1/4 inch on either side of the seams. And so it definitely gives you much less crinkle than I generally like on small pieces, but it was much more time efficient. It took much less time to quilt. And I just kind of wanted to see what it would look like. But I really do love the tighter quilting that makes them super crinkly. For pieces that are not for warmth. For warmth, I want bigger spacing, but for pieces that are either just decorative as these are, well, I mean, I guess they're functional, but you know what I mean. That are not for warmth. So that's that. And then I also sewed another thing. What? It's true. I did. Let me tell you what it was. I sewed a bra, which sounds like the wrong conjugation, but I'm just going to go with it. It is the Superstar bra pattern, and I have sewn one other bra, I think only. I did the Muna and Broad Banksia bra, and I did 2 versions and neither one of them fit. Like one was too big, and then the next one I changed too many variables. Are you guilty of that? Right? Like you're just like, oh, well this one is too big. So the next one I'm going to make smaller. I'm going to use a different fabric. I'm going to, you know what I mean? So then it was like too firm, too small. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know which one of these variables I should not have changed. And so then I just kind of was like, and I put it aside. So it's definitely something I want to approach again. That's the Banksia bra by Muna and Broad. But I also wanted to try a crossover bra. So the Muna and Broad bra has the craziest invention ever, which is another reason I want to keep trying it again. But it basically has boob slings. So it has power net, which is like sort of like this like firm kind of stretchy mesh stuff. When I say that, it's not scratchy feeling. And you literally are making like slings that your boobs like fit into so that it keeps them separated. I wear a size 40, this is a US size, a 40G or H depending on the manufacturer. So I have boobs, and most bras that are not underwire, there are a few exceptions, but most bras that are not underwire press I get too much boob on boob touching. And it's like, it's in the summer especially, it's like not comfortable. So I am definitely into the keep them separated boob philosophy. And so that's one of the reasons the Banksia bra is attractive to me. It has a solid front piece, like versus a crossover bra where so this is the Waves and Wild Superstar bra. So do you see it has a crossover that's visible? And then, but the Banksia looks more like a traditional sports bra when you just look at it. Like it's more of a solid front. Yes. I tried this one. It is sizes extra. Okay, let me just give you the actual measurements because like none of these words mean anything. It's extra, extra small, which is a 28 to 30 inch high bust, to a 5X, which is a 49 to 52 inch high bust. But it goes from an A cup to an H cup. So it goes anywhere from 1 to 8 inches difference between your high bust and your full bust size. So I made an XXL H cup. So that basically is anywhere from a 40 to 43 band size H cup. And I'm pretty pleased with it, okay? I'm not going to show it to you on my boobs. Don't freak out. That's for my OnlyFans site, y'all. But so, okay. So I just bought this knit was brushed polyester nylon. No, brushed polyester spandex from like Joann's, right? It was on sale for half off. And like, I just wanted something, it feels very nice, actually. It has quite a nice texture to it. And it felt like it had really good recovery, which is definitely what you want in this kind of sewing. I'm a little concerned that the polyester might be pretty hot for the summer, but we'll just see. We'll just see. That's another nice thing about the Banksia. You can make it with just one layer of knit and then your supplemental power net mesh. This one is 2 layers. So your back is double thick, and then each bra cup is double thick. And it's made with like there's a seam here. Now I can't remember what that's called. But it's like when you have a dart in your sewing top. And I've never done a knit that had that, but it worked out very easily. This was very easy to put together. It is, if you're doing it with waistband elastic, which is what I chose to do, it's literally only 2 bra pieces. This is the front, like this side is mirrored over here, and so you cut basically 4 of this one piece, and then the back you just cut 2 of a piece. So it's only 2 pieces, which is very attractive, especially when you're not sure if something's going to work out. It does kind of lower the bar to try it out. And so, yeah, we'll see. This has been washed a couple of times now, and the fabric actually looks pretty okay still. I think on sale it's like $9 a yard, and you need just a little over a yard if you're going to line it in its like self-line. I did use a serger, but you don't have to use one. And another thing I did, which was suggested in the pattern, especially if you had bigger or fuller bust, is that I used clear elastic, and like it's inside, you can't see it, but I used clear elastic on the front seams. I also used it on the underarm, like the underarm to here, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. Well, I might still do it next time, just because it'll help the strap stay more elastic and keep it from stretching out as much. So yeah, I guess I will do it. But this had very good coverage. In fact, almost maybe too much, because it was kind of hard to get out of it. Now, I know that's that's a funny thing, like, right, to get out of a sports bra. And I think the Banksia, if I'm not mistaken, is written so that you can do a hook in the front, like to cross. Although now that I say that doesn't sound right. But anyway, so that is a problem, especially if you have like any sort of shoulder mobility issues or anything like that. Or like it is more challenging to get out of. And it has so much coverage that I think it actually makes it even more challenging to get out of. Now, it is just a regular knit. It's not like a really like firm athletic knit, so it has a lot more give, but you still have stitches in there, even if they are zigzag or serger or whatever. Like, there is still a limit to how much the fabric will stretch, and not give you that little crack, 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 pop, pop, pop sound, which is terrifying. So that, I think maybe next time I might take a little bit more out of the back, and maybe even a little bit out of the side, because I had lots of coverage on the side. The only issue I had is one of my boobs is bigger than the other. Very normal, right? And what I should have done, I didn't think about it, but with the crossover, your bigger boob should be the inside cup, right? So you can choose which side goes over the other. And I think next time I'll try to make my smaller boob the side that crosses over, because the boob that's the underneath wrap side gets more, it's more held in. Things I didn't think I was going to be trying to explain on the internet. Right? And so, also in the pattern specifically, they say not to, they tell you to stretch out the clear elastic, which is like such a good recommendation, to kind of make sure that it's, you know, in its more natural state. But they tell you to just apply it flat to your seam. And I would definitely not suggest that if you have more breast tissue. So for me, one side I know that I stretched out, like I applied it with more stretch than the other, and that side is the better side. So, but I am excited. I think I'm definitely going to try it again. It does have quite a bit of waste, the fabric. The pattern piece, again, especially for my size, with the H, it has a bigger cup. It does have a little bit more waste than I would love, but you know, that's life. And you can always seam together those remnants and make another bra out of it. You know, like that's how we become zero waste, right? Is not necessarily by using zero waste patterns, but by using all of our fabric. So you could definitely do that and either do it on the lining if you don't mind seams, or on the exterior if you do. This is the Dritz 2-inch waistband elastic, which you can get at Joann's. You can also buy it like from an online retailer, like for a greater quantity for less money. That's what I'm trying to say, a better value. But I wasn't sure, so I just wanted to try this out, and it worked really nicely. I'm very pleased with it. Yeah, the pattern is also written so that you can do a like a yoga pant. Like if you can do a self, excuse me, man. You can do a band, the underband, with the fabric itself. You don't have to use a waistband elastic. But I knew I would need more stretch recovery than that to keep my boobs, from just like falling out the bottom, because that's what they would do. I have like cat boobs, like they are liquid. They just form to whatever you put them in. And so if there's nothing to hold them back, they're just going to go to the ground. That's where they're going. The Moon and Broad bra, the Banksia bra, you can do like an elastic in a casing. So I might kind of combine them in the future. Because you know, it's much easier to have a bunch of like regular elastic on hand than specialty elastic. And also, then it looks cute because it matches, which I do appreciate. Okay. But one nice thing about this one is it doesn't use fold over elastic, so that's not a thing you have to source. Yeah, but it is double layer. All those things. Okay. Okay, that's sewing. No spinning. Oh, I have a game though. This is cute. So I've been playing a lot of games, especially this week. I don't know what happened. I've been playing a lot of games on Board Game Arena. If you don't know what Board Game Arena is, it is an online, so it's not an app. It's a browser website where you can play tons of tabletop games. And you can either play them with other people, or if you'd like to, you can play them by yourself. And you can either do that by playing them in a solo mode if the game has it, or what I like to do, confessions. What I find very comforting is to do a two-player game and just play against myself. There's a hot seat option. So the hot seat is like you're playing on the same, like you're playing in the same, theoretically you're playing in the same room with another human being, but also yourself. And I don't know why, but there's something about me that the idea of playing with other people, like even though they're strangers and they don't know who I am, makes me anxious. And for a long time I was really like I was like, what is wrong? Like, come on, fix this about yourself. And lately I've just been like, you know what? There are worse things. That's fine. So I've just like been leaning in. So I've been playing lots of Wingspan, and then occasionally some Copenhagen by myself in the evenings, and it's been really quite pleasant. It does kind of do the knitting time, but you know, it is very soothing for some reason for me. But another game that I learned about there is this game called Spots, and it's in beta testing on Board Game Arena, but it's really enjoyable and super cute. The teen and I used to play this game called Doggy Dice, and like that was kind of the first game we ever played really religiously. Just insight about me as a person, and then also subsequently about my teen. I am not good at, I need structure. I really need structure. And so games have always been very comforting to me. And so like I had games for the kiddo to play before they were anywhere near the age that they were supposed to be to play. Like, but anyway, so Doggy Dice is one that we still have our copy, but it's kind of like just playing bingo, but you do it with dice and dogs. It's very cute. And so this one I knew would be just a nice little quick pickup game, and it would still kind of give us those like nostalgic feels because it involves dice and dogs, but it is a little bit different. Again, this is called Spots. It's by CMYK. No, is that right? CMYK? I guess so. It is for 1 to 4 players. It's a 30-minute game. And it's ages 10 and up, but you could definitely have some younger ones. There are instructions on the cards that are read, but it would work for younger kids. And so basically you get these little cards, and you have to complete them with these dice. So like this one needs a 6 and a 1. And you have to complete 6 cards, and the first person who completes 6 cards wins. And there are different ways you can complete the dice, or excuse me, complete your cards by taking these kind of like actions, right? So you're rolling a certain number of dice. You may do it more than once. There's like 6 different actions essentially that folks can take during their turn. But there's a little element of push your luck, because any dice that you can't put on your doggy cards, you have to bury in your yard. And if you bust, so if you go above 7 dice, or a total of 7 on the pips on your dice in your yard, you bust and you lose all the dice that are on your little cards. So it has like a little fun, like I am terrible at push your luck. Like I just refuse to push my luck basically. Aversion to pushing my luck. But, so it's just a simple, basic game. It takes just like a few minutes to do the teach. It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, I will show you this because the directions are out. This is how simple the game is. This is what the directions look like. Right? No looking at that rule book and being like, oh, so many words. It's pretty basic. And there are some flaws to the game. Like once you get down to kind of your last card or 2, too, it does kind of get a little bit like again, you have to roll this like very specific thing, and it can get a little tedious. There are ways to mitigate it, like you can earn treats, which are these little doggy bones that allow you to re-roll dice and things like that. But so the last turn can get a little tedious, but it also is just really sweet and like a fun pickup. I don't think you would necessarily want to play it like at dinner, like, you know, like if you were at a restaurant or something, because some of the well, I guess it just depends on who you're playing with. You wouldn't probably want to play with little people, or my teenager, who can't roll dice and not like have them explode over the entire earth. But so like some of the cards you're rolling 7 or 8 dice at once, and so you know that could get a little bit kooky wacky. But it has that feel of just like something you could very casually pick up as a filler or while you're waiting for folks or what have you. So again, that's Spots. It's like $22-ish, I want to say. Not the best game ever. Don't feel like you need to run out and buy it. But if it scratches a little like fun itch for you, then I don't regret buying it. Okay. So then let's talk about knitting. Okay. So the first thing I have to show you is my Voe, V-O-E vest by MJ Mucklestone. It is a pattern available up to a size 61.5 inch. That's a finished size, but it is a minimal ease to like no, like I think you would be fine with no ease. Excuse me. It is a DK stranded colorwork vest, and I used the colors as written. They are Jameson, so not Jameson and Smith, but Jameson Wool Brokers, which is harder to get your hands on in the U.S. And then the only difference is I didn't use the brown. It's because I had this yarn. Kelburn Woolens. Yeah? Camp? Something like that. Whatever. I had some brown yarn that was a DK way. So just use that instead. Because it is pricey. Like it's pricier than I would normally... well, not true, but it is on the pricier end of my comfort zone. How about that? But I did want to try it, and I am actually pretty pleased with it. It feels really great after blocking. It just has a nice traditional feel to it, right? Like it's not super soft, but it's not at all scratchy. And it blocked out really beautifully. You know, it looks nice and even. It's really lovely, right? Like it is just, yeah, I dig it. I dig it. So I'm currently working on my armhole. It is something you steek, right? So here is my cut open V-neck, and it is a deep V-neck, which is a little bit disconcerting before you cut the steek, because it's like this wide at the top, because you've got armhole steeks and that V-neck steek. So, you know, you just have your 4 shoulder straps essentially, and they're all just jammed right next to each other. And so I was like, I'm just going to cut all of it open at once. Like lots of times I will just cut one thing at a time. But I just was going to cut the whole thing at once because I was like, I can't tell what this is, if this is the right size. I mean, I knew mathematically it should be, but sometimes you just have to know in the actual world. And it does fit, yay! So I am looking forward to that. Will I do like a weird thing I did when I was in college and try to finish it? Like we're doing a college visit tomorrow. I might do that. I used to enjoy staying up like all night to finish a knit thing to wear to another thing. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's the Voe vest. I went a little bit off grid because like I don't know how not to. And also, as I mentioned, like I have more breast tissue than most patterns are written for. So I definitely, you know, moved my stitch counts around. I made fewer stitches in the back than in the front. And so that required me to like do my decreases a little bit differently, more speedily. But I think it still looks like you can pretty much tell from this armhole profile that it looks totally fine. There's a little bit extra fabric here, and that's for breast tissue. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Yeah, I am. I'm totally pleased with it. So yeah, there's that. If you're looking to do like a color work garment for yourself, a vest is a great option. Even if you don't mess around with your shaping or where you're placing your stitches, the fit's much more forgiving than in a regular sweater usually, especially if you have a v-neck. It's easier to take out stitches because you can take them out in the v-neck and at the armhole. So yeah, it's a good option, and this is a DK weight, so it's a little bit speedier than most stranded color work, you know, is fingering weight. So lovely. Did I say that it was bottom up? It is. Okay, so then the other things are crazy and totally different. So then I went to, okay, so I don't know what's going on, right? Neons and Neutrals book released, and then Pom Pom issue 44, and they are filled with wackadoodle designs, and I love all of them. Right? I try not to just like jump on every bandwagon there is, but like, come on. They're really great. The Neons and Neutrals, I find that I might like the patterns conceptually more than, or like maybe I just need to look at them more, and I need more people to knit them, because most of them are written for like 17 different yarns, and same is true with this Pom Pom issue 44, right? And so it's a little bit harder to wrap your head around how to do substitutions if you don't just want to like do a straight kit. Because lots of them are requiring whatever, you know what I mean, right? Like they're not like Superwash 220 or something that's like an easy thing to wrap your head around. There's like 3 different kinds of La Bien Amie. Okay, so then the rest of the things I'm going to show you are totally not traditional stranded colorwork sweater vests. So Neons and Neutrals was released, and then Pom Pom issue 44. I don't know which order, but they've both been released recently, and they are both full of super fun designs, right? Like I don't even know. Like they are really original, really innovative. I'm intrigued by so many of them, and I try not to jump on the like knit the new hotness train, but like they look really fun and really exciting. And I just wanted to like think about them, right? Like I was like, ooh, because they're all in like multiple yarns, right? Like I don't know that any of those patterns is for just one yarn. Gus, he's also excited. I don't think any of those patterns are written for just one yarn. I mean, I could totally be wrong about that, but it definitely were not. If it is the case, they were not the ones that were intriguing to me. And so part of it was like kind of frustrating because I was looking at all the patterns and being like, oh, I don't know. Like it is not clear to me what is like the like port over to something that's in my current price range. So it was frustrating, but it was also fun to just like play with ideas of like, oh, what could you do for this and what could you do for that? And because so many of them are written for multiple yarns, it is easier in a way to kind of like pull something from stash and put things together and play with them, with maybe just buying a little bit extra to augment, or you know, to give you the additional texture that's desired from the pattern or what have you. So I don't know if you checked those collections out, but they are both really fun and really intriguing, and I've definitely enjoyed. Gosh, I do this thing for a living. Do you want to be kept in treats? Then you should probably let me do this thing that I do. Mom, you will give me treats no matter what, Mom. I don't lie, Mom. Oh, Lord, now he's doing this. Oh, Lord. Now he's begging. Oh, he's gonna stop. So I've just been, super treaty, super fun. We'll see. I've been burnt by Pom Pom in the past. I don't know why I say burnt, but like, oftentimes they are designers that are new to me. And so sometimes some designers, okay, this is what I feel. This is not necessarily what the designers are actually thinking. But like some designers clearly have like a finished object in mind, right? And they will make the knitting happen to get to that. So that the pattern itself almost feels like product over process, right? I'm very much a process knitter. I mean, I enjoy the product, but for knitting, I enjoy the process. And so like if tomorrow somebody said like, you can never knit for yourself again, do you want to still knit? I would say definitely yes. Oh, sorry. That was an interesting question that just like popped up. But I was trying to think about it. Like, is that really true? And like, kind of how I feel. I think that's true. As long as like I knew that the people who were receiving it would enjoy it in some way. I guess I would not want to just knit into the void, because if that were that would not be pleasant. Like I wouldn't want to knit to just throw things away. But like if somebody said tomorrow, like, oh yeah, you can knit forever, like you'll be able to knit like physically, like you'll never have issues with carpal tunnel or like anything that could prevent you from knitting, but you'll never be able to knit for yourself. But the people you do knit for, even if you don't know them, like even if they're just people in the ether, they will enjoy it. Then I think I'd be okay with that. Yeah, I just like the process. Sorry. So aside. Oh my gosh, speaking of asides and ether and not... Okay, do any of you watch Ologies? Or watch. Do any of you listen to Ologies, the podcast? If you don't, it's highly enjoyable. I know many of you do, because many of you have recommended to me off and on over over the years. This, I think it's the most recent episode, or maybe it's just the most recent episode I listened to, is about dark matter. Which is, I love, like when I was in high school, I really wanted to be an astrophysicist. Like that was like what I wanted to do. In my heart, like I just really needed it. Fascinating. Because not only, I mean, I find the topic fascinating. The person she interviewed was just sparkling and charming and like just fun. It was fun to listen to. But also her exclamations for the video, like her like introduction, her asides, were some of her best. So if you listen to Ologies and you are at all interested in that kind of topic, like, check it out. It was so fun. But what were we talking about? Ether knitting process. Okay, so some designers, some patterns feel like they are written for product over process. Like the finished object looks lovely, but getting to it feels a little bit like torture. It feels unelegant. It feels like just sloggy. And so sometimes I feel like the pom-pom patterns, like I get really excited about the way a finished object looks, and then I look at the directions and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's definitely not what I'm gonna do. Like that does not seem pleasant to me. So sometimes I'm hesitant about them, but I'm still gonna try. I haven't looked at the neons and neutrals. Like I've looked at the two sweaters that I like the most. There's like a sweater and there's that cute jacket that's so kooky wacky. Ugh, whatever. But that is all to say that I decided on the thing I wanted to make, and it's one of the ones from Pom Pom, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But it involved me going to the yarn store to look for something pretty specific, and luckily they had it. But I accidentally also bought some other yarn. And it's a very unusual yarn for me. If you've been with me for any length of time, you know I love rustic wool. I am just a fan, but sometimes I just go off the fields. And so there was a clearance, and I don't even ever look in the clearance because it's usually more like sort of novelty-ish yarns. But I was looking for this very specific thing, and then again had in my brain like, oh, I would kind of like to make this, and like, oh, so I just wanted to really explore everything. And I purchased this Lang Yarns Camille, and it's sort of like a ribbon slash I-cord yarn. So it's an I-cord yarn, but it's flat like a ribbon. And it is 50% cotton, 30% acrylic, 20% viscose. And it's pretty shiny too, which is something I don't usually like. But I've been wanting to make James and Watts Mystic Square, and I've been wanting to make the Mystic Square for quite some time. I went to a knitting weekend, or actually a sewing, but turned into also knitting, a crafting weekend with friends, and Malia Rhymes with Maria had her Mystic Square there that was from Handspun, and it was gorgeous, and it looked darling on everybody who tried it on. And of course I have Handspun, but I just didn't have enough yardage of ones that I liked together to really like go to make the Mystic Square. And so when I saw this yarn, I assumed it would be a long color change, mostly because I just guessed, and it kind of just looks like it in the bowl, right? And it is. It's not like a long self-striking, but it's it works. And so I cast on the Mystic Square. Like, I bought it at the yarn store. The garment for me will be about $44 because of the sale. And yeah, this pattern is really fun to knit. I'm not gonna lie. I hope I like the finished object, but if nothing else, it's just fun to knit. So it's like a log cabin style, right? Like modular knitting. And James and Watts has at least one podcast or YouTube video out, and he does talk about this specific sweater, but also just why he enjoys knitting, why he enjoys pattern writing with modular techniques. And so basically this is kind of like a log cabin thing, right? You knit this middle square, and then you're doing applied border essentially on each side. So it's great for Noro, like for long color changing yarn. It's great for Handspun. It's great for scraps, all of those things. But it's also just really pleasant to knit if you enjoy applied edgings, or like if you enjoy eating up stitches, right? So like, for example, Shayna Lines, a lot of her designs have you consuming stitches along a border. So there's like live stitches that have either been picked up or that are just live because you finished knitting them. And then you're like joining pieces through joining those stitches onto live stitches. So you're just like, again, you're just chomping up the stitches, and I find that very satisfying. So you knit this little rectangle, which is the part I'm working on right now, which for me is the slowest part. And then I'll start doing the applied part and it'll feel faster. It was really fun. And again, it's written for worsted weight. My gauge was very similar with this yarn. I don't even know technically what weight it is, but it's going to be great for this because it's very drapey. What else was I going to tell you? So, this was, the front and the back are the same as written, and I got like a pooling spot. No big deal, but I decided that I would make that my back. So this will be my back, and then for the front, I am alternating skeins to try not to get pooling like right on a boob. And also to add some short rows for a little additional length to cover my bust. So again, lots of times when I'm knitting sweaters for myself, I will add darts. So I'm adding width, right? So if you're like knitting, for example, from a bottom up, you're adding increases to give yourself more width across the bust. Another way you can accommodate a larger bust than the pattern is written for is by adding short rows, which will add length, right? So like it takes more fabric to go over my boobs than if my boobs were smaller. And so that's usually not the method I prefer, but because this sweater is very relaxed, you could definitely add width if you wanted to. Like there's lots of ways you could add width. It's very easy in this kind of modular situation. But because the pattern is sort of like, it's not super oversized, but it's a little bit oversized. It's drapey. I just wanted to add a little bit extra length so that I wouldn't have such a profile. Like it'll probably still come up a little bit in the front, because I don't think I'm adding that much length, but I didn't want it to come like way up. Also, I wanted it to actually I don't need it to be long, but I don't want it to like end above my underbust. And so those are all words I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, so that's, yeah. But anyway, it's very enjoyable to knit. I hope I like it. If not, you know, it'll find a home, but it's very pleasant. I am knitting mine on US 5s, which I believe is 2 sizes below the suggested needle, which is usually what I do. And then confessions, I didn't buy just one strange yarn for me. Sorry. I bought 2. Because there was this crazy thing. This is Liana by Barocco. And it is, I just didn't really tell you about the, I didn't tell you the yardage for the Lang Camille. It is 100 grams, 210 meters. But anyway, so I also bought Barocco Liana, and it is 50 grams, 128 meters, 140 yards. And it is an 81%, 19%, excuse me, 81% linen. It's just 81%. It's 81% linen, 19% nylon. And it is, I couldn't resist it. It was so unusual looking to me. And I don't know at all if I am going to enjoy knitting with it. It feels a little bit stiff. Not stiff, like linen always feels stiff, but I just couldn't resist it. It looked like chicken feathers or like rooster tails, or like it should be part of a fishing bait, or, which is probably not like the greatest reason to buy a yarn. But I was just really intrigued by it. And again, it's not even like normally like, oh, they say it's not my colors, but it has a very feel of like just a navy and a warm red and a bronze. But I don't know. I just can't stop looking at it and being like confused about it and intrigued about it. And I'm going to make something with it. So I hope I have enough to make like a shell or a tank. It'll depend on really what it looks like knit, for me, what I like, the way that, you know, the gauge that I like the look of will determine how much fabric I can get from it. But it is really intriguing, and yeah, we'll see. I may regret this decision. But the pattern I am knitting for sure is, well, for sure at this moment, is the Wefan. I believe it's Wefan. I believe because it is like a woven texture. And this is from Pom Pom Quarterly, issue 44. And it is this crocheted, here's a better picture. Here's a picture of the texture. It is this crocheted, woven as you crochet thing. And I am really excited about making it. I don't know if I'll be excited about wearing it, but I'm really excited about making it. So what I tried to do for the Wefan is I wasn't familiar. I've not used any of the yarns suggested. What I tried to do is kind of go similar weights, but more importantly, my brain anyway, was texture, right? Because like part of the reason this really seems like it works is because you have quite a few, like each yarn has its very distinctive texture. You know, this kind of cream color looks to be like a more traditional, I think from the pattern description, DK weight wool yarn, right? And then you have something that is like kind of like very frothy and like much thinner in weight. And then a third one, which is sort of somewhere in between. And so I tried to kind of like emulate the weights of the yarns, and then also the differing textures. But like my texture might not match the suggested yarn's texture, but I just tried to make them slightly different textures. So that's how I was approaching it. It is a little tricky to like figure these out because they are not, again, they're not yarns that I have like in my LYS that I can kind of go and examine. So I'm just doing my best. So I'm going to use this DK weight as my yarn A. So I've gotten started, right? I have one little like ladder section. And then I am going to use Knit Picks Lace Weight Voliere. This is Lovebird, and it's 30% silk, 40% linen, 30% alpaca. And I thought that would be a great, again, textural component. And then I am also using Ridiculous hand-dyed yarn, which is alpaca lace weight, which is a baby Surrey alpaca in her Clearwater colorway, or excuse me, in their Clearwater colorway. I'm not sure. So I thought these would be interesting together. We'll see. For my different textures. If nothing else, it'll be an interesting experiment. I enjoy having crochet projects just to kind of like, again, have something a little bit different to work on. And this is definitely an unusual crochet technique. And I really like the idea of being able to crochet in this, like, in these varied textures, just to kind of see how the yarns, like, how they work in crochet. So that's going to be interesting to do. And it's a pretty basic like shape, so there won't be a lot of like play with that. The play will mostly just be, again, with like weaving in these crocheted elements and whatnot. Yeah, we'll see. So far, I mean, the pattern so far seems clear, but again, I have like one section and it's not super clear because there's this like elongated cross stitch that you do, which you can't find specifically anywhere. Well, I couldn't find specifically at the time anywhere. But there is like a crochet, this one's called a long narrow cross stitch. And there is such a thing as like a triple crochet cross stitch. It just makes more of like an actual X shape. And it's the same technique. It's just that this one, the legs are anchored closer to each other. And I'm assuming that's just to give it a little bit more heft, to keep these half double crochet, single crochet bars, to keep them spaced so they don't just like, it's not quite as floppy. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see. It seems fun. It seems fun. But I am very, from the same issue, I'm really wanting to make also the overlay pattern. And again, love this neon yellow with the cream and the like soft tan khaki kind of. I don't think that I would do that color combination. Like beiges tend to really wash me out quite a lot. But look at how cute the little shell is, because there's a sweater with sleeves. And where's the picture? Oh, the picture. Oh, they're together. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. You're like, I didn't really want to watch a YouTube video of somebody just looking at their fan. I understand. But like, look at the more colorful option. Cute. And this one was also a little bit confusing with the yarns, but I think really it's just 3 primary colors, and you are doing like this sort of like plaid effect, and it's brioche, so one color, you know, like that's kind of how you're getting the plaid effect. It's intarsia brioche. What the hey, that's bananas. But brioche doesn't bother me too much to be intarsia, because the front and the back, do you know what I mean? It's not like, I'm not going to be doing like big purl back rows when I wouldn't have to if I were knitting in the round kind of a thing. But again, it's another one where it chooses like 5 different yarns, and you're just like, wait, what are these 5 different yarns? How are they being placed? Why? Like, I need like a meta comment about all of these patterns for me to like really, do you know what I mean? Like, I really wish there was that like little breakaway, and maybe there is and I've just not seen it for this one, but I would really love to be like, Okay, if you want to knit the overlay, we're looking for a finished DK weight of 3 colors. And the way we achieved that is by using 3 fingering weight colors held together with a lace weight mohair silk single. And we used these two, we used one color with these two and another color with this one, or like whatever it is. I need more of like they have these lovely like schematics of it, right? But I want like annotations. Like tell me this is yarn A, this is yarn B, this, you know what I mean? This is A and B together, this is C and D together. Like, it just would help me in the planning. I'm sure once you get to knitting it, it's quite clear. But like when you're planning and you're not going to use the exact same yarns that are listed, it would be very helpful if something like that were offered. And I'm sure as more people knit these items, it will become clearer, like how the yarn placements work. But it would be really nice at this stage to like have just like a little bit Elizabeth Zimmerman, like a pithy direction about like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Here's your big level concept, and then here are the directions as well. But this is a very enjoyable episode. I keep saying episode. It's a very enjoyable issue. Like, look at this little silly Tam is even terribly cute, right? And I am really loving the neon neutral concept. Again, the it's not actually La Bien-Aimée book, right? Like it's not, because I mean, each design is different. But I know it is, okay, it is by her, but it is a compilation by different designers. So they're not all her specific designs. But I mean, so many of these are highly enjoyable. I love the sweater vest. Right? Love that. Texture is so lovely and enjoyable. And like, how fun is it that it has this kind of like eggy feel to it? Like it has like a spring feel, but not in a like an Easter baskety kind of way. It just feels like bright and fresh. Like your first kind of like out of the garden pea kind of vibe. And like some of them are more exaggerated, like, or some of them are not things that I am drawn to, but I can still appreciate the aesthetic of. Like, even there's just like, this is like dreamy looking. And again, the majority of the reason this is so dreamy is because these yarns are super dreamy. But it is challenging, right? Like it's challenging when a pattern uses a lot of different yarns, because it's gonna add to the price. Let's just be frank. It is going to, and it, like, this is a lot of yarn. And so like it can be really challenging to figure out like, okay, how do I do that if I don't want to use exactly the yarns indicated? And that is a challenge. And it is a challenge when you start adding mohair silk to everything, right? Like it adds to the price of it, whether you're using a hand-dyed mohair silk or you're using a Knit Picks mohair silk, it still adds. Like, even if you can get a value, it's still adding. But I think, for example, the one I talked about in Pom Pom, it is written to be fingering held with a mohair silk, I believe, specifically, like the layers, this one. But I feel like you could also do that with a DK that had some texture to it, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you could just use 3 DK weight yarns. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see like how people interpret them, how people choose alternate yarns for them, and make them work for different price points and what have you. So yeah, but we'll see. Okay, that's a lot of me talking. And I think that's everything. If you've stayed with me this long and you're a patron of the podcast and you're doing the read along with me, oh my goodness. Hi, one person out there. We are doing some midpoint discussions of Reclaiming Body Trust, which is a book that we are reading together. We're doing some midpoint Zoom discussions. If you want to join in, you don't have to, but if you're not on the Discord group, I just want to like put a brief note in. Like some people are like, well, I don't know if I should join in because I have not read all of the book, or like I've not read, like we're kind of doing like the first 5 chapters. Don't you just join in. There's no test. Like there's no requirement that you read every word. Like if you start a chapter and you're like, this is not resonating with me, like that's great. Use your time efficiently and how you want to use it. I am not putting constraints on you at all. And again, this is the first time I'm reading this book. And so I tried to approach it like we were doing a book club together, not like I was in the pulpit and like teaching a book that we were then discussing. Like, so like there are not things like this is not like an ideal book. Like it's very much more focused on the personal, which is not bad. Like that's not a bad thing at all. But like usually when I feel more comfortable with books about this kind of specific subject, about like just about the subject in general. Like again, like for example, maintenance phase, they're always talking about like, you know, it's not that we don't care about your personal choices, but your personal choices are your personal choices. What I am more concerned about are like the social structures, that anti-fat bias, that misogyny, that homophobia, that anti-trans, all of these, all these violences exist in. Like these, the larger societal systemic stuff is like what I am most interested in. And so this book is a little bit more on like the personal end of it, which is great, but like, yeah, like I'm reading it along with you, like, right. Like I am also like, oh, okay, well this is really resonating with me, but this isn't. And so, that was a lot of words for me to say. We would love to have your company if you want to hang out. You can find, if you're not a patron of the podcast, you can find more information at patreon.com/fatsquirrelfibers. And if you are a patron of the podcast and you started to read it and it's just like life happens, like, oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. Like if ever we're doing something like a knit along or like a read along or like, and that's patrons or not patrons, like never feel like you have to participate. Never feel like investing in reading rom-coms and playing board games online with yourself is is not what you should be doing. Like, you're great, you're doing fine. Like I am in no place to give you permission, but I'm giving you permission. Like, it's bananas out there, y'all. Like, I just got information about, I just got a notification that my prescription had been filled, and it was $100 more with insurance than it was without it. And my husband has our health insurance because I'm independently employed, and 20% of his check goes to the insurance premium, and I got a prescription that costs $100 more with insurance than it did with like the generic discount. And that is not to elicit sympathy in any way. It is just to be like, WTAF, y'all. So like, I just want to touch base. Like, you're getting a couple of hours of me once, or, you know, in a month. Like, and I don't want to participate in like some sort of like culture where I am only showing like the most curated parts of myself, but in the reality is like you don't want to see all of me because like you're doing your own stuff and you don't need to like see me like trying to psych myself up to talk to the pharmacist about getting this thing situated. But like I'm also getting this thing situated, and like if you're getting your stuff situated and you're just like, why am I the only person who's doing this? You're really not. And I know you know that. I know you know that. But like I'm just gonna remind you for like a second that you're not, that like there are systems that are really, 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 really broken. And this is like the smallest of the systems. And like, if you're worried about sending your kids to school, or you're worried about like what your non-cis kid is going to deal with in the next few years, or you're a friend, or like you're not friend, you're just like random person on the street, if you're just like worried about how that person is going to be able to like live their life for the next few years, or like I don't know, but like so that's just a minute of me being like, I also see that things are really messed up, and I know that we're not here to talk about those things that are messed up, but if you feel like you were like looking around one day and you were just like, does anybody else notice? Like, just as a moment to remind, like, I'll just check in. Like, yo, notice. I notice. And I know, guys. So anyway. Sometimes those things all happen when there is still sunshine and there is still a dog laying against you. And like, yeah, you need to, like, if you need a rom-com, like, let me just discuss. Okay, I'm just gonna give one to you because you didn't ask, but just in case that's the medicine you need today. Okay, Talia Hibbert. What's going on? Talia Hibbert. I finished one of her other books. Let me see what it was. It was Take a Hint, Danny Brown, right? Or no, that's not what I read of hers. That was, okay, I could do it that way. It was Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. Presh, right? It is English. Super cute, but this one is like a YA rom-com-y kind of book. Super cute. Fine. But I was like, I do like this woman's voice. Let me just get another one. And so then I checked out from the library, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and it is an adult. Well, I mean, it is adults, because it's a whoo steamy. But more than that, I just really dig it. I am giving this 5 stars, which I do not do lightly. I'm also not a person who doesn't give anything 5 stars. But like, highly stinking enjoyable. I'm usually actually not a person who particularly enjoys the like who steamy, but her writing is super engaging. I am never a person who's like, oh, this like little light fluff book. Well, I mean, what I would think of as a light fluff book because of the genre. Like, I need to get a hard copy of this because there are some beautifully written passages. Like, there are some striking word poems within this text. And it's a delight. So who does this narration? Because also, the person who does the narration for the audiobook, brilliant. Brilliant. Love the voice. Why doesn't my library tell me easily who is the narrator? Ajoa Ando? That's my best guess. Delicious. Delicious. Everything about this is highly stinking enjoyable. Yeah. I don't know what to say except that. So if you need a little something something, there's 2 flavors of something something for you. If you want the like, aw, something something, there's one. And then if you want the whoo, something something, there's the other one. I would say that I am much more struck by the quality of the writing in this Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It is delicious. It is. I need to read other people's reviews because I need other people to be like, oh my gosh, what is happening? This is so wonderful. Now, somebody else might be like, these people are too perfect, and they are, but that's what this kind of book is about. Right? Right? They're both beautifully selfless. They are not flawed. They are just delightful. It is, I won't say that it's a candy because it has this like lovely writing, or excuse me, it has writing that I really enjoy. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, that's what you needed. There you go. There's a recommendation. If you need like a nerdy recommendation, I'm currently reading what is it called? Like, I had to put down the poli-sci kind of books. I was like, I can't deal with this right now. So I am reading On Trails by Robert Moore. It is now available in paperback. And it is, how do you have an entire nonfiction book about trails? Well, so far he's doing a very good job of it. There's lots of lots of fun information about well, at least the part that I'm more interested in so far, and I would say the part he's most talked about so far, are just like talking about like animal trails and like ants and how they interact and oh, by the way, did you know that like a certain percentage of ants are naughty? Like, they're not all selfless, right? Like, you think of ants and like they do wild stuff, like where they're like, they'll use their own bodies to create a bridge for like the other ants to go. But some ants are jerks. Like, they're not all selfless. Something like in some different ant species, almost like 20%, like I can't remember which ant species it was, but like in one of the ant species, like 20% of them are just like living off the system. They're like literally just living off the work of other people. And I don't know what about that made me feel like I had like such a lovely release. Like, I was just like, isn't that strange? But it made me feel like, because again, so many annoying people are worried about creating safety nets and like caring for other people and like even children. Like, come on, South Dakota, who just is not going to let kids have free lunches. Come on. But like some people are just, and I understand it's like just some vocal people, and like I try to remember my spheres of influence, but like some people are so concerned about like some people like taking advantage of a system that they're just like gonna deny children lunches. And I don't know, for some reason, reading that 20% of ants are totally just being like, no, we're not doing that, was like comforting. Because I was just like, oh, see, people, like, they're still, like, so the other ants are still doing it. They're still helping. They're still doing the things that they want to do as ants. And like, I'm not going to say that they're making like good choices or bad choices because they're ants. I'm not really sure. I don't want to anthropomorphize them and like all of that stuff. But like 80% of them are still upholding their ant society. And they're not just going to not uphold ants. They're not going to sit at home and not do the things just because 20% of the other ants are, you know, got something going on. Like, they may not even be jerks. I said they were jerks, but you know what I mean. Like, there's 20% of people, they got something else going on, right? Like, there's been something happening, or something's going on in the minute, or like, I mean, I think with the ants, I might, but if we're like extrapolating to people, which I am, if you hadn't noticed, like, I'm not saying those 20% of people are jerks. They definitely probably just have something else going on, right? Like, that's okay. Like, doesn't mean the other 80% of us have to be like, no, we will not give children lunches. Like, just, come on, man. Okay, that was not where I intended to go. But I just drank all the coffee, so it's definitely time for us to stop. And, yeah. Sending you. Okay, yeah, just drop the shoulders. Just drop them. I always need to be reminded. Drop the shoulders for just a second. Just have a few good breaths. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.